1, 2, 3, FCA!
Okay, so we started looking at a couple of techniques that are quote-unquote illegal judo. What makes them illegal under the rules of judo is anytime, if I grab this guy's legs, controls on the legs, holding his legs in any way, that makes it an illegal technique. Fortunately in Jiu-Jitsu we don't have silly rules like that, which allows us to work these fantastic takedowns that originally come from the judo curriculum. Okay? In this situation, I'm in my regular setup. For pretty much anything I want to do from here, I want to get in and close. If this guy's using the same grip as me, he could stiff arm me, and that could be really effective to stop me getting in for any of my throws. My normal move here is to break this grip and work this across. But when I go to that same point I would go to break the grip, instead of breaking this grip, I can use this stiff arm against it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, over, and down. I'm going to peeky move my head to the outside. This becomes illegal at this point when I control this. From here, I'm going to show you the slow version. I'm going to windshield wipe on my foot, and I'm going to sit back and through. From here, reverse my legs, come up to the top. So that is a basic fireman's carry takedown. If I want to do that with a little bit more energy, instead of just slowly windshield wipering my leg, I'm kind of going to do more like a wrestling sit-out. So I go over, under, sit through, and drive him over. Come up to the top. That same concept of technique, I can take to his other leg. So instead of going over and under, this time I am going to break this grip, and I'm going to punch this across. My hand that's here, I'm going to take it over this arm. So I'm sliding down his triceps, and I'm dropping to my knees here. I'm pinning this down to my shoulder. At this point, controlling his hand here, I can lift him up or over this way and rotate. Perfectly legal in judo because I did not take his leg. Same idea. We're here. Break this over. This time I come up and over the arm. I'm going to come under his leg. I rotate him over. Illegal in judo, legal in Jiu-Jitsu. Okay? But that same basic concept. The thing that's really important here, if you stand up, when I want to throw him with these garumi throws, where I'm rolling him over my shoulder, fireman's carry position, all I'm doing is, his legs are holding his weight. His center of mass is around his midsection. Instead of his legs controlling his weight, my legs are now controlling his weight, and I'm under his center of mass. That's all I'm doing, is swapping his legs for mine. Now if I do that with my knees far away from him, the distance from his mass point on the ground to mine is a lever that's working against me. Okay? So I want to get in. If I get in, he weighs nothing. And I can just rotate him over with very little effort. If I drop and I'm further away from him, I'm going to put my back out because I'm old and broken. Okay? So it's very important as I go for these throws that I really penetrate and try to get directly under his hips. My knees on the ground, replace his legs. Okay? So that was our takedown. On the ground, we'd be looking at guard passing. And the beautiful thing about Jiu-Jitsu is it works in 3 dimensions. You know, we think about it as like 3-dimensional human chess. Guard passing is going from this side of his legs to the other side of his hips. We looked at going around his legs. That's one direction I can go. We looked at going under his legs. That's the second direction I can go. I have a buddy who trains Jiu-Jitsu who has 2 prosthetic legs. With him, I could go through because I could pop the legs off and go straight through. With most people, that would be a disqualification. So I can't go through his legs. Don't go around, don't go under. My other option is to go over. My first option for going over these legs, again, we're imagining a situation where either I've worked into his open guard or he's opened his guard to attack me. Coming weeks, we're going to look at opening the guard, but his guard is open. What I am going to do, I am going to put his leg to the ground on one side, take my same side shin over. My foot stays inside this leg. I am going to reach around his head and cross-face him with my shoulder. That then allows me to do my big dramatic back step. My hips are pointing upwards. Very important that my foot has stayed inside his leg. My knee is at his hip. I'm actually controlling his hips and his legs between my foot and my knee. This stops him rotating his hips, as does the pressure across his chin. Now I've done my back step, my hand goes to his hip to block him. I can now come up into my side mount in whatever way I like. A couple of things that are really important. First thing is keeping my foot inside. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm sliding that and I can go all the way over that leg. The second I do that, he's going to close half guard on me and I can't do my back step. I just made my life harder. If I do with my foot inside, close up the half guard, it's not going to work. Okay? So that's very important. It's very important to control him to stop him turning towards me. If I don't have control and I step backwards, he's going to come up on top. So that's why I'm controlling his shoulders and pinning him down. The third thing that's really important is, as I'm here and I've done my big dramatic back step, if I do not put my hand to his hip, see people go like this, he's going to go to his knees here, rotate, come back inside, control the top position, or pull me into his guard. If I block his hips, he cannot do that. So that's one way that I could go over his legs. I always used to think when I first started training, for me, that big back step was that's a black belt move. As a lower belt, a white belt, even up into blue belt, I very much wanted my hips to point towards him. And felt if I reversed my hips, I was going to get reversed. So I was very nervous to reverse my hips in a movement. But you'd be training and all of a sudden, you'd hear this big dramatic sound. And that was one of the black belts doing a big back step in a movement. Quite often it was Roger with his big powerful legs doing a big old back step. So I always thought of that as like a black belt back step. That's always how it locked in my brain. But I wish I'd started doing it earlier because it's really effective. And once you start freeing your hips and reversing your hips like that, you can get into a really powerful position. Once I'm here and I've reversed my hips, I've got so much power to drive back into him. If I'm halfway turned here, I don't actually have that much power. When I get here, I've got the full power of my hips to drive into him, and as he starts trying to work towards me, I've got a lot of ability to use that to take him out. So that was my back step pass. The other option that I absolutely love, probably one of the ways that I pass the guard most, is to use my other knee. So instead of going same side knee over, I'm going to cut across. So this is a knee cut. A lot of times this is going to come from free motion or whatever, free open guard position. I'm going to take this shin and go across his knee. So first things first, as I go over here, if I do nothing with this hand, I've given him a free shot to just sit up and go to my back. So it's very important that I control this underhook. The way I do that, as I'm working here, this hand is going to be inside here. I bring this knee down, my right arm is going to scoop up, looking here. My left foot steps out, I control this sleeve and pull him up and across. So I've reversed his shoulders pointing this way as my hips, again, reverse, I'm sliding over right at his knee, so I'm using the whole length of his thigh bone as a lever to pin him down. This foot really kind of grips and pulls me through, like I'm sliding into base. From here, I've got his shoulder up and off the ground. I'm going to bring my knee under his shoulder and settle nice and tightly into this position. I'm beautifully set up to start attacking things from here. So seeing that a little bit more flow to it, I am inside his guard, I control, I bring this down, I scoop under, I take this sleeve, dynamically pull it, slide, settle into control. One other thing that's very important, if I am high here, this leg here is going to come past my head very quickly and lock me backwards, so I've always got to be prepared to get low. This foot is like a kickstand. I can drive off this foot. I'm not putting lots of weight on this leg. My weight is from my heel driving power into his ribs, into his diaphragm, cutting his breathing off. I can get really light across here and heavy on him. By driving across, I can create more force than gravity alone would create as I push into this to open up whatever attacks I want to go for. So the general rule, we've looked at passing the guard, by going round, by going under, by going over. Basic rule in Jiu-Jitsu, the more he tries to shut one door to my attack, the more another one's going to open. So if I am working to go around his legs, there is a good chance he is going to pull them into his body, he's going to push them up, he's going to push them down to avoid me controlling. If they go up, I can go under them. I'm trying to go under them, he brings his legs down. Now they're going down, I go over them. So there's a lot of situations where I can be, I'm starting here and pushing this down and trying to work to this side. I can't get control, he's getting really tight this side. I can go under this side and reverse it to the other side, for instance. So there's a lot of opportunity where the harder I push in one direction and force him to defend, it's going to allow me to go back the other way and get where I want to go really easily. So basic rule in Jiu-Jitsu is it's not all one straight path to a destination. There's multiple paths. We're in 3 dimensions. If it feels like I really are blocked in going in one direction, think about, can I go in the exact opposite direction? If I'm turning one way and it's difficult, can I turn the other way? If I'm going under something, can I go over it? If I'm going around, like, that's the way my mind is always thinking. The more tough it is to go one way, the easier it's going to be to go another way. And sometimes we get locked because we're trying to break down the wall that's in front of us and not opening the door that's to the side. Thank you for helping me out. Good training.